What's up, y'all? This is the very first time I'm doing this, so bear with me. But I promise this ain't gonna be nothing crazy. It's currently 5:16 in the morning, and I've been up since like 4 o'clock. I've been having weird dreams. I ain't gonna even talk about that. So instead of just choosing like, oh, I'm gonna just lay in bed, I'm gonna just scroll on my phone, I got shit to do. So just like my phone says, I prioritize my happiness. So let's just go straight into this. So right here I have 25 pitches out of 700. So we already know your boy does not slack one bit. If we gotta shoot and I feel like we didn't get the shot, hey, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5. I'm tripping. Because at that time, we just having fun. And that's really the whole purpose of it. I'm just trying to make sure that y'all having fun. Because if y'all not having fun, I'm stressing. If y'all having fun, I could chill, you feel me? We could just vibe. But anyways, let's get straight into it. So this photograph, I had already did a little pre-edit just to see like how things are gonna be looking. But this is originally what the shot looked like. The first thing that I wanna make sure that y'all know that y'all need to be doing is making sure y'all dropping down your brightness on your computer, because if you're editing with your brightness all the way up, only imagine what somebody else is seeing on their phone. Hardly anybody have their brightness all the way up, and if they do, you want to make sure that they can see everything just as the way that you wanted it to be. So make sure you drop that brightness all the way down to 50%. And edit that way. So let's go back down to that 50%. And since this picture is already done, let's go choose a different one. Let's go for this one. If you're using Adobe Bridge, I want to make sure that y'all know about these 2 warning triggers right here. Just click this symbol or just press the key U to see like any of the spots that are too blacked out. For instance, this blue means it's too dark. Now let's go to the red, which is our highlights, like the brightest parts of the image, and none of the image is blown out, which is great, other than the darks, which is okay because the hair is black. We're in a really dark part of this image, which makes me feel comfortable that, you know, it's okay for it to be dark. As long as nothing's completely blown out. For an example, this is what I mean by blown out. But for an example, if the dark sides, our shadows, were to be too dark, it would have been looking something like this, which is complete. I wouldn't say this is fine, but it wouldn't be hard to edit it to get back into this. But luckily it's not that dark, so we have a lot to work with right here. So let's get straight into it. This is my style of editing, so remember, tweak it a little bit, do what you feel like you need to, create something that's your style. I feel like throughout all my material, you see a really close repetition on realism. I don't like to do craziness with my images. I like to get it close to what I want it to be out the camera. And that's only because I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours editing a photo. I would really spend hours and hours and hours editing videos. Like, come on, I gotta make my life easier a little bit. So the first thing that I suggest everyone do is make sure that y'all go to optics, click on these 2 options right here. And as you can see, simply using the profile correction, I am a little bit blown out in the back because I'm using 2 LED lights to light up the background, which is why I have this nice separation between the subject and the background lighting. Now I could have went a little bit darker according to the profile correction, but that's all right. We're gonna fix that. So the next thing that I do after optics, I go into curve. The reason why I do curve second is because these sliders are gonna be touched significantly if I do lights first. So I always go into curves first and figure out if I need to drop the exposure or raise the exposure. Based on this background, I need to drop the exposure a little bit, but only on the highlight side. So just doing that slight little click, sometimes you're not actually pressing the line and you're pressing a little bit below the line and it makes everything already perfect. So as you can see, I pressed a little bit below the line and it like kind of cleared it up a little bit. but I'm gonna manually slide this to where I want it to be. I only wanna drop the highlights. This is our highlight side over here. This is our shadow side over here. So let's go ahead and do so. I only wanna drop the highlights a little bit, and now I could play with the exposure a little bit more. I could raise it and it still not be blown out. I could drop it and it starts to get a little bit blown out. So if you could just spare me and save my voice, I'm gonna rock out to some music, look at what I'm doing with these edits, and you know, help me help myself. I ain't trying to talk through this entire thing. So just look at what I'm doing with the curve. When I get to another section, I'll break it down a little bit more and look at what I'm doing with each individual section as well. You know, I'm not trying to talk your ears off, so let's get straight into it. All right, so next we're gonna go into lighting. Lighting is pretty self-explanatory, I feel, but if you look, it's gonna be understandable, trust me. Exposure is gonna be our brightness, contrast is gonna be dark sides, highlights are gonna be like the super bright sides, shadows, the super dark sides, white, the super bright, and the blacks, the super black, darks. So that's like me dumbing it down. I'm not trying to say you're dumb, but that's like me dumbing it down a little bit to the best of my knowledge. You know, some guru out there could explain this way better. You know, I'm still a college student. So let's get straight into it. All right, so we're finished with the light. So far we did the optics, we did the curve, we did the lights. Next thing that I do, and I'm gonna have to come back to the lights after this because I always need to make sure that I get our lighting correct and then go down to effects. Now this is where my style really kicks in because I like making everyone look a little bit angelic. And to do so, I use dehaze. Dehaze, I only use a really little bit. It kind of lightens the entire image, but ideally, it's to make you look softer, to get like a glow coming off your skin, to make you look more like, oh, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, all right, let's get straight back into it. So this is a quick before and after of that. Before, after, before, after. I know I did say I usually get right back into the lights after the effects because usually when I drop the dehaze, it kind of makes the image brighter, which puts us back into that warning zone. So next, after effects, we go into color. I always, regardless of anything, I always put a 4 on saturation and vibrance. Why? Before, after, before, after. It just gives a little bit more punch into the image. So after that, I go into temperature to figure out if my white balance was white balancing or if it was a little bit too cold or a little bit too warm. And that is definitely cold. Slowly just coming up a little bit to make sure that I get this on the money. And I think right there is fine. Let's see what it looked like originally. And wow, exactly where I had put it is exactly where it was. So our white balance was perfectly fine. Didn't have to touch that at all. After color, I'm going into our color grade. And first I'm gonna mess with our levels before I actually mess with the colors. I'm bugging, I didn't even have our highlights clicked. So let's go back a little bit, only to our effects. And let's see, is it because of our dehaze? So ignore what I just said about that dehaze, delete that part if I feel like I need to. Maybe it's cool to be wrong sometimes, you know, expose yourself a little bit. You know, we all make mistakes. I'm human too. So anyways, let's get straight back into it. Let's put the dehaze back on 0 and see what the problem is. Okay, so dehaze wasn't the issue because it was already a little bit blown out. Only in the background, honestly, so we're fine still. But I'm sure it's something that I could just fix in our curvature. And just like that, I only want to do a real little bits, and boom, we're gone again. So let's go back to our effects, go back to the dehaze, and let's figure out how much I really want to use now. I'll say like, oh wow, 21 still is the number. Oh no, was it 16 before? Let's see what 16 looked like. Negative 16. Oh. And there is a significant difference. I'm gonna keep it on negative 16. Let me see what negative 21 looked like one more time. 16, 21, 16, 21. Let's go with 16. I don't want to do too much. I never like doing too much. And then ideally using negative 21 just means like I have more whites in there, and I don't want to potentially blow it out again. So let's go back to our color grade. And so like I said, I want to mess with our sliders first, making sure I usually go like shadow, mid, highlight, make sure everything is nice. So if I drop my shadows all the way down, you see the dark parts of the image gets really dark. If I go all the way up, you see our lights are still good. So so initially, if I did have that dark area behind her hair still, I would have just went up. But I don't have to. I honestly don't have to do anything with the shadows. I think this is a very well lit image, unless like I just want to get it a little bit darker. But I don't want to do anything with the shadows. Let's figure out if we need to mess with our mids. I think we could lighten that up a little bit. Just a little bit. And then our highlights, definitely don't want to touch that because we've already been experiencing a little bit of blowing out. Let me take a little break. Let's see what time it is. I'm acting like I don't got the time right there. All right. So this is a very important part of my style. I always color grade as well. Even though that this image looks pretty much good to go, I can send it out right now to Photoshop and finish up any touching and cleaning up that I need to do. But I also do like to color grade in Adobe Bridge. So let's go ahead. You know, our shadows are, remember our shadows is the dark part of the image. So let's figure out what is the dark parts of the image. We have black hair, we have dark skin tone. So we need to be brown, you feel me? We need to focus on that brown orange area, which I believe looks really nice right here. And then we're gonna lower the levels. Original with the color grade, original with the color grade. So I just wanna barely be using it because I just like to use a little bit. Remember, realism is my thing. I like to make shit look real. So our midtones is pretty much the entire image, so which means I still want to use a type of brown. Usually yellows, browns I'm using for dark tones. I could use yellows and blues for white tones, which is exactly what I'm going to be doing with the highlights. The highlights are going to be on the blue side because that's going to be close to that frost white tone that I love. Like any type of, like, you think there's not many different types of white? This is a type of white. This is a type of white. This is a type of white. You feel me? And the type of white that I'm going to be showing you is the type of white that I prefer. It's like a frost white. It's still on like the blue side. Let's figure out where that nice soft sweet spot is. Let's go look at her jewelry because that's the closest thing to white on her body. And let's figure out if I'm liking the tone of white that I'm using. Right here looks pretty good. And then let's drop it a little bit. Right there looks good to me. Do we need to brighten it up? Hell no. You see all that? You see all that blown out areas? Let's see what that looked like zoomed out. Now let's drop it right there, perfectly fine. This is what it looked like before and after with the color grade. Before, after, loving it. So let's do details. I always bring up the sharpness. Why? Because sometimes the camera, let me not blame the camera, because sometimes us as photographers, we don't see that we're focusing on what is closest to us. We need to make sure that we're focusing on eyes, noses, heads, make sure that our depth of field isn't too shallow. Right here, it's a lit, like smudge, a very little bit too shallow. So, and I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about with that. You see how her face is a little bit blurry, but her shoulder is much sharper than her face. So I'm just gonna raise our sharpness a little bit just to get that definition back into, you know, our faded area. Here we go. We have this image. Looks pretty great to me. Let's do a noise reduction. Let's see how we're looking. I don't want to see that part. I want to see this part of the image. Now, these are some great examples of what I like to use AI for. I don't like to use AI to completely do the work for me. I could denoise this myself, but we're just gonna like change this up a little bit. It's not that noisy at all. And if anything, can't really even tell the difference. Before, after, before, after, before, after. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna enhance that. It says it's gonna take about 25 seconds to do so. It is what it is. I mean, let's leave that, let's let it rock, let's do its thing. I feel like this image is pretty much done, but there's always more that we could do. I could see a line right here. I'm not liking it. We have shadows right here. We have the shadow right here. We have the shadow right here. And these two areas right here looks way brighter than the rest of the image, except for, I guess, the highlights that are on our subject as well.